once again, this is FORO Politico, and this is Latino PBS. Now we're going to see part of the speech by one of the richest men in the world that endorsed Secretary Clinton to be the next president of the United States of America.
Truth be told, the richest thing about Donald Trump is his hypocrisy. He wants you to believe that we can solve our biggest problems by deporting Mexicans and shutting out Muslims. He wants you to believe that erecting trade barriers will bring back good jobs. Wrong on both counts. We can only solve our biggest problems if we come together and embrace the freedoms that our founding fathers established right here in Philadelphia, which permitted our ancestors to create the great American exceptionalism that all of us now enjoy. Donald Trump doesn't understand that. Hillary Clinton does. And we can only create good jobs if we make smarter investments in infrastructure and do more to support small businesses, not stiff them. Donald Trump doesn't understand that. Hillary Clinton does. I understand the appeal of a businessman president, but Trump's business plan is a disaster in the making. He would make it harder for small businesses to compete, do great damage to our economy, threaten the retirement savings of millions of Americans, lead to greater debt and more unemployment, erode our influence around the world, and make our communities less safe. The bottom line is Trump is a risky, reckless, and radical choice, and we can't afford to make that choice. Now, I know Hillary Clinton is not flawless. No candidate is. But she is the right choice and the responsible choice in this election. And no matter what you may think about her politics or her record, Hillary Clinton understands that this is not reality television. This is reality. She understands the job of president. It involves finding solutions, not pointing fingers, and offering hope, not stoking fear. Over the course of our country's proud history, we have faced our share of grave challenges, but we have never retreated in fear. Never. Not here in Philadelphia in 1776, not here at Gettysburg in 1863, not through 2 world wars and a Great Depression, not at Selma or Stonewall, and not after 9/11. And we must not start now. America is the greatest country on earth. And when people vote with their feet, they come here. The presidency of the United States is the most powerful office in the world. So I say to my fellow independents, your votes matter now. Your vote will determine the future of your job, your business, and our future together as a country. To me, this election is not a choice between a Democrat and a Republican. It is a choice between who is better to lead our country right now. Better for our economy, better for our security, better for our freedom, and better for our future. There is no doubt in my mind that Hillary Clinton is the right choice this November. So tonight, as an independent, I am asking you to join with me, not out of party loyalty, but out of love of country. And together, let's select a sane, competent person with international experience, a unifier who is mature enough to reach out for advice, to build consensus, and to recognize that we all have something to contribute. So let's elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. Thank you.
And I'm going to welcome two panelists more. We let go of Mr. Figueroa and also Mrs. Baca, and now I welcome Roberto Celis, professor from Latin America. Thank you very much, Professor Celis, for being with us again, and also Professor Hector Lerma. Hector Lerma, thank you very much for joining us. I have to tell you that Mr. Lerma he has a PhD in psychology, and he used to work for the Riverside County, and also now he's part of the ESIPAF, Escuela de Superación Integral para la Familia. Thank you very much, Mr. Lerma, Professor Lerma, for being with us. And overall, I want to ask you first your take on the first days of the Democratic National Convention. What did you see? What did you get from this convention, Mr. Lerma?
When I started hearing Bernie Sanders backers and all the shouting and all the boos, and I was saying, "Oh my, this is going to create some chaotic situations in the convention." And then when I heard Bernie Sanders, I said, "Oh my, this is going to settle down." Even though he did part of it, but he didn't, because he kept on going and going and going. I love the way he said it at the end. He said that, yeah, the revolution continues on, because we need to still fight for the revolution. We need to continue, fighting for our ideals. Now, when I heard Michelle Obama, and I said, this lady ought to be the president, our next president after Hillary, because she presents herself so well without even mentioning the opponent.
Do you think that they really feel the speech? They're part of the speech when they mention that they're going to work about the families, about the children, about the poor people, the poor America. And Michelle, the first lady, mentioned about the first a woman can be president of the United States, and the America is greater now. It's a greater country on the earth.
Okay, let me say one thing about my thinking about a woman. A woman is a person. A woman has the same capacity that you and I do. I mean, there's no difference except the gender. Therefore, I understand that they have their own way of thinking. We as males have suppressed them to be who they want them, who we want them to be, and they have rebel against that status. I do not. How would I say? Let me take myself back. Okay, I approve of Hillary Clinton when she ran for the first time. I backed her up and said, "This lady has the guts to do it, and she'll be able to command the greatest country in the world."
Let me now ask you, Mr. Professor Celis. Professor Celis, we saw the speech by Mr. Michael Bloomberg.
Yes.
A former mayor from New York. And in that speech, he attacks strongly to Mr. Trump. What's your take on that speech?
Well, first of all, it's very rare to see Michael Bloomberg appear on television. As many of the people who are in the upper echelon of the financial world in the United States and worldwide, they prefer not to really show in front of the public unless it's necessary. If he was invited, it's because he is speaking perhaps, and I assume he's doing that, he's speaking on behalf of the great majority of the rich people in this country that sees Donald Trump as really a false person that represents their class. So Michael Bloomberg said something very interesting. He says, "I'm a New Yorker, and I can detect and recognize a calm person when I see him. And Donald Trump is a calm person." That itself questions the integrity of Donald Trump. And then also, he basically explained, he doesn't have any political preference for either party. He declares himself independent. But he says that his experience after 12 years of being the mayor of New York City makes him aware that, first of all, Donald Trump is not one of the most liked persons in the city of New York. In other words, Michael Bloomberg was there just to basically bury Donald Trump, dig a big hole and just toss it in and just pour the concrete on top of him and says, this guy is not worth what he's saying. He's not, doesn't stand for us. He doesn't stand for the people in New York, and he doesn't speak on behalf of the rich elite that basically is behind the economy of this country.
One more thing that Mr. Bloomberg said in that speech was that Trump says that he wants to run the nation like he's running his business, and God help us is what Mr. Bloomberg said. And also Mr. Bloomberg mentioned that he built a business, and he said the man who runs number 8 in the Forbes list of the richest people on the planet, and I didn't start with $1 million check for my father because Mr. Trump, as you remember, he started with money with his father, and he ended telling the people, the audience in that convention, that the richest thing about Donald Trump is his hypocrisy. And then with that, Mr. Selich, I have to ask you, do you think that since Mr. Bloomberg is independent, the independents will join Mrs. Clinton?
As an independent, he invited all those who consider themselves independent to consider joining the Democrats, because actually the Democrats, part of their speech addressed to the convention was addressed to the people that were undecided, including the Republicans who are completely in disagreement with Donald Trump. So basically, Mr. Bloomberg, what he did was just confirm whatever doubt that people had regarding Donald Trump and the seriousness of this person, in the sense that he is basically a person that was created by television for entertainment only.
Before we go to commercials, I have to ask you, Professor Hector, quickly in 20 seconds, tell me, do you think that that convention, Democratic convention, did unite the party compared to the Republican convention?
Well, first of all, nothing is perfect, but I would say that they were insecure. They were not secure about their policies and where they're coming from. And Bernie Sanders had to do much about uniting the Democratic Party. So they did. I would say about 75% of the people came out convinced who they wanted to vote for.
Thank you very much. We're going to take another break. Please stay with us.
This is for Hillary.
So you'll hang just a little bit.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion.
Like how a single word can make a heart open.
I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. And all those things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream and loud tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is our fight song.
Take back our life song. Prove we're alright song.
My power's turned on.
Starting right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. 'Cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me.
Losing friends and I'm chasing sleep. Everybody's worried about me. I'm in too deep. Said I'm in too deep.
Well, it's been 2 years and I miss my home, but there's a fire burning in my bones. Still believe, yeah, I still believe. And all those things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream and loud tonight.
Can't you hear my voice this time?
This is our fight song. a child, prepare him to run a nation. We got some hard choices, but together we gonna make it. We living in history. America, take a bow. We about to show the world, yeah, women are equal now. Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. Like how a single word can make a heart open. I may only have one match,
but I can make an explosion.
This is our fight song. Hey. Take back my life song. Prove we're alright song. My gun was turned on. Starting right now. I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. You got the light.
Thank you for joining us once again. Now we want to show you the face of the millions of dreamers. Those dreamers that were brought to this country when they were kids, and now they're asking for an opportunity to be out of the shadows. They were part of the Democratic National Convention, and this is Astrid Silva, a dreamer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Astrid Silva from Las Vegas, Nevada.
When I was 4 years old, my mother and I climbed into a raft, and we crossed the river to join my father in America in search of a better life. All I had was a little doll. I grew up like an ordinary girl. My dad worked as a landscaper, and my mom stayed at home with my brother and I. But while my friends did ordinary things, I couldn't, because my parents were afraid that someone might discover I was undocumented. My family believed so deeply in the promise of this country that we risked everything for the American dream. As an undocumented student, I felt like college was out of reach. But after a journey of 10 years, I finally graduated from Nevada State College. My family and I are here because of people like Senator Harry Reid, mi abuelito, who put themselves in our shoes and helped us. And while President Obama's immigration action protected me, we live in constant fear that my parents could be taken away from their grandson, Noah. So when Donald Trump talks about deporting 11 million people, he's talking about ripping families apart, separating families like mine and like Carla's. Hillary Clinton understands that this is not who we are as a country. I have seen her comfort children like Carla who are scared that they might lose their parents to deportation. I know she will fight to keep our families together. Nuestras familias. I know she will.
With that video, I'm going to ask our guests about the possibility to get an immigration reform for the next president of the United States. Mr. Celis, your take on that. 11 million people that could be deported if we had a Republican president, and will be the opposite if we have a Democratic president.
Well, one of the things I'm finding out is basically that there's strategic tactics on both parties to actually reach the famous 270 points that they need to actually be elected president. So they're choosing their battlegrounds very carefully. Ohio is critical.
Do you see a reality, though, that will be easier for a Democratic president to help?
That's where Hillary is right now. She's in Pennsylvania and Ohio. She's trying to gain ground there. And Donald Trump is doing the same thing. Florida is a critical point. That's why Sam Kane was chosen as vice president because he speaks Spanish. And because he has more or less, he understands the mentality and the culture of the Latinos to a certain extent.
When the Democrats put the immigrants in that convention, did you see like that they try to persuade to the borders the human size of those people that they already here, that they contribute to the economy? Or what's your take on that? Why did they brought in the Republicans, they did not bring the stories when they say we're going to build a wall, we want to deport those immigrants?
Well, first of all, the Republicans that are saying they're going to build a wall consist of probably a very few, led by Donald Trump. The majority of the Republicans don't agree with that because they see that it's a huge, enormous task that's going to cost a lot of money. Second, to force Mexico to actually come up with the money is ludicrous. Okay, and then also to punish the people that are already living here and sending remittances to their families there is just going to cause a tremendous, really serious political problem among the Latino community as well as all through Latin America. The United States, if they want allies, support them so they don't have, you know, infiltration of ISIS in their countries, you know, they better start thinking with their right head. Donald Trump is not doing that, and the Republican Party is just desperate right now.
Mr. Lerma, when you're working with families and a lot of things that you've been doing is with immigrants, have you have a chance to see dreamers to persuade their dream and say, I cannot do this because I have not the citizenship or I'm not a resident? Legal in this country. What's your take on this situation for the Democratic Party?
Okay, for either party, you know, I don't go either Democrat or Republican. They need to realize that the reality is that we have Mexico is a very it's a hot pack. The jobs are very, I mean, underpaid so badly that people need to say, go to the States, go to the States. Little kids, they say, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to go to the States. Because that's what my uncle or my dad or my mom are. So therefore, if we don't want to build a wall or anything that has to do with killing people who are crossing the border, we need to get him to. We need the governments in Latin America to pay their people. Therefore, they don't need to come to the States anymore. And in that respect, the people who are here in the United States, they need to be legalized. I'm sorry, well, they need to be documented, that's the word. So they can really help their families in Mexico or in Latin America. And that is a backbone that we really need in the States. That we need people to come across the border any time they want, as long as they have the right documents. I mean, that's common sense. And Donald Trump is not using common sense.
When we see in those Republican strategies to get the borders to alienate it with them, we've seen it before with ex-former Governor Pete Wilson with those 187 proposals that criminalize undocumented. Right. And we have seen in Arizona, SB 170 also, that criminalize the undocumented in order to be popular, in order to win the electorate.
So political.
Now, do you think that this is a strategy from Mr. Trump to get those white people, mostly?
Oh, God. The thing is, I mean, Republicans make business out of everything. Just think. Who owns most of the businesses on the border? Republicans. I mean, if they don't have people come across the border, or vice versa, they're going to lose their jobs. I mean, they're going to lose their business.
We have seen that.
Oh, yes.
We have seen it between the border, Mexicali and Calexico, they're closing, and some people, they say, well, it's because of the earthquake that happened recently in Calexico, but as Professor Alerma mentioned that it's about economics. The undocumented is about economic. And we have another little girl that her mother is undocumented, and she is afraid that someday she could lose her mother because she will be deported. This is Carla Ortiz. They live in Nevada.
Thank you very much for coming here today. I really appreciate it. And today I'm gonna tell you guys a story about my parents, about their deportation of immigration. And I'm a daughter of immigrants' parents. Valiente, brave. That's what Hillary Clinton called me when I told her I was worried my parents would be deported. Even when I was little, my parents were always crying, but I didn't understand why. Soy americana. I was born in Las Vegas, Nevada. My parents came here looking for a better life, for the American dream, el sueño americano. But I don't feel brave every day. On most days, I'm scared. I'm scared that at any moment, my mom and my dad will be forced to leave. And I wonder, what if I come home and find it empty? I want my parents to see me do science experiments and help me find my rare rocks in the desert. I want to grow up to be a lawyer so I can help other families like us. I have hope, esperanza. Hillary Clinton told me that she would do everything she could to help us. She told me that I didn't have to do the worrying because she would do the worrying for me and all of us. She wants me to have the worries of an 11-year-old, not the weight of the world on my shoulder.
Valiente. Como todos los padres, trabajamos duro para darles a nuestros hijos una mejor vida, viviendo cada día con la esperanza de que nuestros esfuerzos sean realizados. El sistema de inmigración necesita ser mejor para que las familias puedan estar juntos y poder alcanzar el sueño americano.
Sabemos que Hillary luchará por toda nuestra familia, por esperanza y por el sueño americano. Hillary Clinton for president. ¡Juntos se puede! Thank you.
That was Carla Ortiz, 11-year-old girl, and her mother, Francisca Ortiz. Very compelling story. Professor Celis.
Well, first of all, anytime that we have a child addressing a whole entire convention with such a very simple, very profound message, it gets to you, you know, because she's speaking from the heart. I think basically it also tells us the gravity that it's happening in both countries. In Mexico, people are forced to leave their country because their native country because the opportunities are over for a certain class. Same here, they have the elite people over there that are living very well, enjoying the benefits of NAFTA, and the poor class has no opportunity, so they need to move out. And they come to the north, ir al norte. It's just part of the tradition. So they come over here and they venture and they deal with all kinds of indignity treatment and do all kinds of labor work and odd hours, poor wages, and abuses. So this girl is the product of this couple that managed to settle in Las Vegas, and they're probably hotel workers that are working, hopefully not for Donald Trump.
We have to take another break, but when we come back, we're going to keep talking about this issue. Will be the most important issue for the Latinos. And what about the economy? What about jobs? What about education? And also, we want to present some clips about the vice president that was picked by the candidate, Secretary Clinton, Mr. Tim Kaine, and also part of the speech by Mr. Antonio Villaraigosa. Please stay with us. This is Foro Politico, and this is Latino PBS. Thank you once again. We're talking about the Democratic National Convention that just happened in Philadelphia. In this segment, we're going to talk about Tim Kaine and also about Antonio Villaraigosa. And talking about Tim Kaine, he is the governor from Virginia, Professor Celis, and he speaks Spanish. He was in Honduras. He's a kind of compassion person. And then when Clinton picked Mr. Kaine, she had the opportunity to pick some Latinos. For example, a congressman from Texas, Julian Castro, and Javier Becerra. Why do you think she picked Mr. Tim Kaine?
Well, first of all, I made a mistake of saying Sam Kaine, and it's not Sam Kaine, it's Tim Kaine. So I apologize for that mistake. But I believe that Tim Kaine was selected, first of all, because he has a lot of experience working in the Senate. He has worked with people such as Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. He knows how it works. And then also, he is bilingual. He speaks Spanish. He spent a year or so in Honduras with the Jesuits working for the poor. And he had opportunity to get to know the culture. Naturally, Central America might differ in certain ways with Mexico or with South America. But the culture is very similar. Similarity. The language is very, very similar as well. So she saw that as a tremendous asset, plus the fact that he is white. If she actually chose a Latino to run, he would be targeted by Trump, saying and questioning that probably he's an undocumented guy that came over here, or his parents were undocumented, and he would just waste Hillary's ammunition in defending her vice president for his ethnicity. This time she thought in advance and moved on and maybe did a move that it was a tactical political movement, very effective. And we can only see the outcome of it, in the first 100 days or even the first year or 2 years of her administration, how effective is Tim Kaine.
Professor Hector Lerma, the Latinos involved in politics. How important is for the Latinos to participate in this election? Do you feel like it's a historic election, like the headlines in the paper US Today says Clinton launches historic quest for first time in more than 200 years, a woman nominated for one of the biggest political party. But the Latinos, what are we?
Okay, well, there's two things that I'm thinking about. Is the political level of the Hispanics is growing so rapidly because we are getting acquainted with what's going on with the political venue of the United States. I was a person who was not a citizen for more than 20 years, and Wilson made me become a citizen. So the Hispanic politicians need to really go on to knocking door to door, educating Hispanics You know, these are our options. This is what we need as Hispanics. This is what the United States need from us. And on the other hand, it needs to defend our potential at the national and international levels, because they see us as the dormant giant, and the dormant giant needs to wake up. But those people who need to become citizens right away so they can go and vote for who they think is best is #1 priority of all the Hispanic politicians.
Talking about Latinos, we're going to introduce Mr. Antonio Villaraigosa, former mayor from Los Angeles. He was participating also in this Democratic National Convention.
But these 11 million people have no credentials to this hall. They don't even have a vote. But they must have a voice in our party and our nation. Donald Trump proposes the greatest mass deportation in our nation's or any nation's history. It's patterned after Operation Wetback, a shameful episode in our nation's history when 1 million Mexicans were deported. He would not only deport our neighbors and our families, he would vanquish the dream they carry in their heart when they answer that beacon of hope and light to dreamers from all over the world. And so in this city of brotherly love, we must stand up and fight for these 11 million, for we are brother's keeper. We have always been stronger when we integrate, not segregate, when we join hands and work together to solve our challenges. And we will be stronger when we elect a woman who has fought for the forgotten children, given voice to the unrepresented, a woman who's like the Good Shepherd and wants to bring all the flock in, not just the white flock, but the black flock, the yellow flock, the brown flock, the Muslim flock, the Jewish flock, every single one of us. A woman who fought for health care for all and who will fix our broken immigration system. A woman who will tear down a wall and build a bridge to a great, generous America that we all know and love. That woman is Hillary Clinton. Our nominee and the next President of the United States. Thank you so much.
A woman that can unify, that can join the diversity, the talented people that there is in this country. When you hear Mr. Villaraigosa, Professor Celis, did the Latinos really get the message to support Hillary Clinton?
Well, depends on where they hear the message.
The message is, for example, he talks basically about immigrants, immigration, reform, the immigration reform that is the system that is broken. And then he did not talk about jobs, education, about the health reform. Do you think that Latinos care a lot about immigration reform?
Oh, it's still #1 in their agenda. I think that for us Latinos, in order to, because we happen to probably know 1 or 2 or even more people who are undocumented that are here doing things, acting under the cover of being exposed, but they're doing their share. I know people that are actually working as community advocates, that they're actually fighting for human rights. knowing that they can be detained and then expelled, deported the next day. So it's to ensure that the capacity of these people to come and actually live in this country and do well in this country allows them to remain here and continue their work. That it concerns me. But what I think that our community needs to know is that it's not just look at for better job opportunities or any financial assistance or medical assistance. It's ensuring that we have a place in the political table where we can participate with the rest of the community. And we still have very few leaders that speak for us in Congress. There are very few, and we need them in every political scan where we can be represented, speaking for all the community.
Speaking Spanish in the Democratic Convention, do you think Professor Lerma helps the candidate, Secretary Clinton, to become president?
I don't know if it helps, but it makes it makes people who are listening to actually realize that we live in a bilingual, trilingual society, that we cannot escape from it, and that we cannot listen to someone who's telling us that that's the opposite, monolingual, and they advertise that the English language is English, and we're not saying that it's not. But I'm not going to teach my kid who's 1 year old to teach him speak English to him when he hears Spanish at home. That doesn't make sense. So Spanish will not help, will not make people who do not understand the language, that actually they will add up to discriminate us.
In that part, Professor Lerma, talking about Spanish, and there's some comedians that use the Spanish as a joke.
That's right.
And then when you hear, for example, the Mexicans, they eat only beans and tacos, does that make you feel bad? Does that make you feel discriminated because they're using those words, and for them they're laughing or putting some stigma to the Mexicans?
Again, education. If you are a well-educated person, whether you're white, black, brown, green, whatever, it doesn't really matter. As long as you know where you stand, whatever joke somebody makes, it will not change your criteria in regards of anybody. Like I said in the beginning, I don't see Hillary Clinton as a woman, I see her as a person. And that's what we need to do. And somebody said, love each other, love one another. And that was Jesus Christ. And that's what we need to do. We need to realize that the language doesn't really have to do anything with our attitude. That we need to see the other person as a person.
Any comments about this, Professor Celis?
Well,
when
first of all,
use the language as comedians? Did you feel
I would actually
offended?
No, I think that basically at first I was offended, especially when I came from Mexico and I saw Saturday Night and they were making comedy of Mexicans coming out of from everywhere, from underneath the table and all that kind of stuff. At first I felt offended, but as time went by, Americans began to also change their attitude towards Mexicans because they realized that there are all kinds of Mexicans, as there are all kinds of North Africans, and there's all kinds of French and German and all that. It's people. And like Professor, he mentioned, you need to take it from the individual basis, as a person to person. A person that speaks more than 2 languages develops their cognitive abilities faster than a person that just sticks to 1 language.
I'm asking you this because of the famous show, maybe you see in the Saturday Night Live, there once the Latino community, they did not want to have Mr. Trump in that show, and at the end of the day, they have Mr. Trump because the Latino people opposed to, because of the insults to the Mexicans. But then Saturday Night Live they decided to have Mr. Trump in that show. And then in this convention, the Democratic Convention, there is also segments where they talk about the Mexicans, about the wall, about identify the Mexicans that eating tacos.
I didn't see that in the convention. You mean this convention, the Democratic?
Yes.
Saying that the Mexicans
well,
are
anyway,
eating tacos?
Anyway, if you don't see in that
well,
show,
let me put it this way.
If you saw any other show,
Americans
if they portray like
love
a race or ethnicity associated with the one thing that there is not associated. For example, if you associate, for example, that white people, they only eat hamburgers, or they only eat hot dogs, or things like that.
Well, that's just making a generality. It's a generalized concept that doesn't really apply because they're Americans. They're vegetarians, for example. Okay, so you know, if you actually do that, you're following Donald Trump's trend, which is basically being a total ignorant about the entire country. You're just speaking and trying to make generalities. What I can say is this: they may despise the Mexicans very much, but they love the Mexican food. And they love the Mexican ladies. And you know what? Without us, the combination is not there.
Okay. Thank you very much. We had to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the speech by the woman. Secretary Clinton accepted the nomination to become the first president of the United States of America. Please stay with us. This is Latino PBS, and this is FORO Politico.
You saw family members of police officers killed in the line of duty because they were outgunned by criminals. I refuse to believe we can't find common ground here. We have to heal the divides in our country, not just on guns, but on race, immigration, and more. And that starts with listening to each other, trying as best we can to walk in each other's shoes. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of young Black and Latino men and women who face the effects of systemic racism and are made to feel like their lives are disposable. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of police officers kissing their kids and spouses goodbye every day, heading off to do a dangerous and necessary job. We will reform our criminal justice system from end to end and rebuild trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve. And we will defend all our rights, civil rights, human rights, and voting rights, women's rights and workers' rights, LGBT rights, and the rights of people with disabilities.
That was part of the speech by Secretary Clinton in the Democratic National Convention. As you can see, a lot of emotions in that convention, when she talks not just only about the gun lobby, terrorism, economy, immigration, health reform. And one of the things that she mentioned was about those words that were used by Franklin Delano Roosevelt when she said that the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. And that's because of the Republican convention. There was a divisive, was a lot of hatred in that convention. And with that, I'm going to start, Professor Lerma. When you hear about those words from Secretary Clinton, defending like a fighter, like a woman that she's been working in public service for long years, did she really give you the sense that she will become a trusted person?
Okay, one of the things that I like about Hillary is that she has experience. She's been there a long, long time, longer than even President Clinton, her husband. She has we already know her mistakes. See, and that's where the Republicans are building on. I mean, they're really knocking on her mistakes. But we already know her mistakes. And she accepts them, and she has asked for forgiveness. One of the things that I really like about her is that she mentioned the climate changes, how it really is getting to us. And we need to work on really getting to a level that we can control it. And that is fewer emissions, factories that are really controlling their smoke and so forth and so forth. And now another thing that I really like is she's a hard worker. Stubborn, but she's a hard worker. She works. And that's one of the things that I haven't heard from the other opponent. And now another thing that I like to mention, if I can continue, is that she is not selling us dreams. She is not selling us. She's down to earth, because we need to find out where we're going as a country.
I'm sorry for interrupt you, Professor Lerma. We have to take another break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask you also about the experience that you have, that when you take the courses with Mr. Trump, with Trump University, and also Mr. Celis. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this Democratic National Convention. Please stay with us. This is Foro Politico. Thank you for joining us once again. Professor Lerma, you were talking about that you had experience with Mr. Trump. You were taking those courses. What happened in that experience in Trump University? As many people as you and I have received so many mailings saying that they offer this, they train you to be whatever you want to be trained. And I received Donald Trump saying that you can become a millionaire in such a short time. So I went to his workshop, that's what it's called, his workshop. And I was promised to be a millionaire if I paid $25,000 right away. And then you said, right here, make $25,000. Yeah, of course. Right away. Of course. One of the things that and referring to Hillary, was saying is, gun salesmanship means money. I have an example that it's really, and it has to do with, another thing is I wanted to mention about Trump. Okay, the Trump University offers you the same thing. They offer you a dream that you're going to become an entrepreneur, and then you're going to become a businessman, and then you're going to become a millionaire. Therefore, that's the dream they're selling you. Do you think that really was a fraud? If it wasn't, if it was, I didn't fall for it. You didn't fall for it. Okay, because I'm in a rush because that time goes quickly, and I have to tell you about the recent polls, but real clear politics between those two candidates, and this is a nationwide poll that was released after the fourth day of the Democratic National Convention. Donald Trump, 45.6%, and his Secretary Clinton, 44.7%, very close. And for the state of Florida, they have Mr. Trump, 43.8%, in Ohio, and sorry, in Clinton, 43 again. In Florida, Trump 43.8, and Mrs. Clinton 43.5, and Ohio State 41.8, and Mrs. Clinton 42.6. As you can see, Professor Sally, very close tie. The election is gonna be very nasty a campaign through November the 8th. What's your take?
Well, first of all, the only one that really truly sticks to the polls and believes them is Donald Trump. With regard to yesterday's polls, at the closing of the convention, Hillary Clinton was ahead by 9 points.
According to a source?
The sources that were provided by CNN and by MSNBC. Okay. So we can say that the polls are going to continue to be kind of erratic. They take into basically an account on the survey they ask of the people and their impression of who is the best candidate at this moment in the closing of the conventions, etc. But it depends on who they approach, what kind of level of education they have, what kind of jobs they have, what level of dissatisfaction they have with the current, what's happening. So it varies. We still have 3 long months for the election.
We
to
have
take place in
seen
November.
one of the news outlets that were supporting, or people said that their bias is Fox News. And we saw that before the Democratic Convention, the news director, Roger Ailes, was out because of sexual harassment. Did that, saying that Mr. Celis is going to be missing by the Trump campaign, not having this outlet supporting him, according to some people, that the Fox News is biased?
I think what I heard was basically an internal issue in which there was a struggle.
Yeah, but that thing is going to affect.
Well, let me just finish. Is that basically the owner of Fox, which is
Richard Murdoch?
Mr. Murdoch, his 2 sons are taking over the news department, and they're making adjustments, and they believe that he was on the way, and they removed him using a little scandal that was going on. I don't know if it was made up or not, but the thing is that the gentleman who was the creator of a new style of dealing with news has, after many years, he's been invited to leave Fox, and that's where we are. But I think that Fox will continue the line of supporting Donald Trump, but unfortunately, the media plays a very important role in evaluating the candidates and their performance. I think that we should know through the media and by the Justice Department is what kind of action they're going to take with Mr. Trump after he actually made that statement about the Russians hacking into Hillary's emails and trying to find out which emails are the most damaging to send it to the FBI, according to him. That's basically inviting a foreign power to intrude in our elections.
Thank you, Professor Celis. 20 seconds, Professor Lerma. What will be your conclusion about this Democratic National Convention? 20 seconds on.
My conclusion, my brothers out there who are listening to us, please, if you are a gardener, you work in construction, you work in the media, you work as a school teacher or in the medical profession, please try to extend your arms abroad so you can become, as a gardener, you can become the owner of the fertilizer instead of just being the gardener. The builder, be sure that you're the distributor of the wood that you build with, and so on and so on. That will make the difference in the lifestyle of every Latino or every Hispanic or every person in the United States.
Thank you very much, Professor Lerma, for being with us. Thank you, and also Professor Roberto Celis. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. On behalf of everybody that makes possible Foro Politico, thank you very much. See you soon, and good night.